Hello, everyone. Welcome to, it's almost 12:12. Hello. Welcome to this live stream. We're going to finally talk about fear. Hello, Jess. Welcome. And Olivia, hello. How are you guys today? How are you? Oh my goodness. We have so much to talk about today. So much. Hello, Erica. Hi. So good to see you guys. Let me wave at you. Hello, you waved at them. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to hop right in because I want to be able to save this right to my feed so that anyone, Amanda. Oh, hello. Oh my goodness. I want to talk about fear today, and I want to jump right in and like rip the Band-Aid off because I want to be able to save this to my feed for those that can't make it live. And I will also strip the audio and try to put it on the podcast as long as the audio comes through okay. Good morning. Today's conversation was sparked by a back and forth messaging thread that I was having with one of my good girlfriends the other day when all of this came out about, and stick with me, this stems from politics, but this goes into so much more, okay? So stick with me, even if we disagree politically. Listen up. This is important. Ooh, working in the apothecary, that's a whole vibe. Hello, Carla. Okay, so Trump tweeted, so Trump had COVID, right? Trump got coronavirus, and I hope I don't get kicked off for saying that. It's a fact, but somehow we're getting fact-checked left and right, even when shit is real. So he had COVID, he had the virus, and he is someone that many of us were worried that he was going to die, whether you agree with him politically or not. There was kind of this uproar because he's 74, most likely pre-diabetic. He's a little bit overweight, right? He drinks Diet Coke every day. He's very open that he eats fast food. Like, he's not like the epitome of health, right? He's not like someone that I would be like, wow, like they are so healthy, right? Their vitality, their well-being, their longevity. He's not someone that we would really aspire to be in our health, right? In our well-being. And he is someone that he is overworked. So his body and his energy and his burnout is not helping his health either, correct? So he gets COVID, and, you know, a lot of people around him do, and he has to, Diet Coke is the best. I will say I do love a Diet Coke. I'm not going to lie if I'm being real. So he gets COVID, he goes under, and a lot of us are, praying. Now, there's a lot of hate of people hoping that he dies. This is his karma, all of this. And I talked about that on my stories that day of like, it's disgusting, no matter if you, again, agree with him politically or not, whether you agree with the other side or not, the fact that we would wish death on someone feels a little bit like that's going to be our own karma to pay one day. So I really pray that more of us have compassion and grace, whether we agree or not. I don't wish death on anyone. So we have this, right? So there was that aspect, and he got it, and he healed himself from it. He went to Walter Reed, he got medical treatment. He didn't get a vaccine, but he worked with the therapeutic treatments, the natural treatments, and things that he's been preaching for a long time, and he healed, right? In the matter of days, he cured himself, or they cured him of COVID, right? So he tweets then, this is where this all stems from, okay? He tweets this whole tweet about how he's made it out of COVID. He's literally, the words in quotes, exactly word for word. Do not be afraid of COVID. Do not let it dominate your life. Now, again, whether you're voting for him or not, what he's doing is painting a picture of hope for our country, for our nation, for our people, for really liberating us all from this fear that the media has been feeding into us for 200 plus days, right? So what started as, let's take 15 days to slow the spread, turned into 200 plus days of a rise in suicides, domestic abuse, starving children, people not having food on the table, small businesses closing, our economy crashing, different things, right? There was a lot of bad shit that happened, and the virus is real. So over 200,000 people have lost their lives due to, majority of them, comorbidities, which is very much proven. That is a fact. That is not an opinion. And COVID took them sooner than they would have gone otherwise. So it's devastating. No matter what way you look at this, no matter what side you look at, COVID itself, pandemic or not, is devastating. It was devastating for our country. It's devastating for our world. It's devastating for people's families. It's devastating for people's businesses. There is a lot of heavy, heavy, heavy energy around this last few months, right? It's very obvious. We're all experiencing it in some way. So the leader of the free world comes out and says, do not be afraid of COVID. Do not let it dominate your life. And the media and even some of those in the coaching industry, the spiritual community, go crazy that he is being insensitive and he is being dangerous. And that's where this conversation stems. That's where I want to talk about fear and how it's killing your life force, which I guess I kind of thought was personal development 101, something we've all been preaching and teaching and embodying and believing in for years in this industry. But somehow the president, again, whether you hate him or not, saying to not let this dominate your life, to not live in perpetual fear, is somehow being seen as insensitive and dangerous. Do we see the hypocrisy and the double standard? Again, take politics out of it. Whether it was a Democrat in office or a Republican or an independent, the leader of the free world saying, I have beat this. We have lost lives? Yes. We have grieved? Yes. We will continue to grieve the lives of those lost? Yes. And you do not have to live in fear because treatments are on the way. Whether you choose the vaccine, whether you choose, therapeutic treatments, whatever it might be, the choice is yours. He's made it very clear it's not mandated. The choice is yours. Isn't this a gift? Isn't this a gift that in the last 6 months and plus of this devastation, that the lives lost were not lost in vain, but instead we were able to learn more about this. We were able to get underneath it. We were able to encapsulate it and see, here's how this virus works, and now here's how we're going to beat it. Here's how we're going to grieve, yes, and again, those lives were not lost in vain, and here's our plan moving forward. Here is hope, here is vision, here is faith that we're going to get through this together. And so when I started to see, the media and, certain aspects of the coaching industry and the spiritual community being very much like, this is dangerous, this is insensitive, this is wrong, he's awful, we need to vote him out, and watching the way that the left would handle, and Biden and Harris have both been very vocal about how they would handle this, and they're going to say more control, more mandates. We're so focused in on everything that's gone wrong. We're putting all of our energy there, is their plan, right? Versus, here's what's happened. Let's have radical acceptance and so much grace and so much empathy, and let's move forward. Let's continue to get back to our lives and continue to get back to celebration of life and what's possible, right? And so we've seen both sides. And again, take politics out of it because I'm going to tie this back into life in general. But we've seen how both sides are going to handle it. And as someone who identifies as being in the spiritual community, in the coaching industry, personal development 101, someone who preaches about how we need to move the fear out, how we need to continue to liberate ourselves from it because it's keeping us from our power, it's keeping us from our intuition, why are we upset that our leader that's leading the way is trying to give us hope? Please make it make sense. The hypocrisy and the double standard is what I cannot stand. And it's on both sides politically. It really, really is. But do we see how we're creating more divisiveness? Oh, he said this, so he meant this. We're putting a lot of assumptions in there through our own lens to confirm our own bias. We are looking at what he is saying, and we are cherry picking in order for it to feed our own fear, our own grief, and to have some sort of like, oh, okay, now I feel seen, versus seeing ourselves, versus saying, I can grieve and I can also have hope for what the death of, it was this I don't know her last name. I believe her first name's Amanda. She's a celebrity. Her husband died of COVID. They do believe, from everything I've read about it, that when they were putting people on ventilators too early, they typically passed away, which was devastating because they couldn't get them off of it. And I don't know if that's the fullness of it. So, don't hold me to that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. But we can see that we can be sad that he died. And why are we upset that the leader of our country wants us to move forward at the same time? Can we hold the both and, right? So what I see this as is the in mask wearers versus non-mask wearers. Again, it doesn't matter. There's medicine and nectar here for all of us. Okay, so please, no matter where you stand on it, you obviously know where I stand. I'm not quiet about it. Hear what I'm saying. There's a meme that goes around about, this person's wearing a mask and the person that's not wearing a mask is telling them all of the reasons why they don't need to be wearing a mask and that they can liberate themselves from the fear. And the person that's wearing the mask, and this isn't everyone, so this is a fucking meme, okay? Take it with a grain of salt. Says, no, I want to be afraid. La, 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 I want to be afraid. I don't care what the facts say. I want to be confirmed that I should be living in fear. I refuse to see or hear anything else because I'm blinded by my fear. I'm blinded by my hatred towards a certain president. I'm blinded by my own trauma. I can't hear or see clearly. And here's the thing. I have so much compassion for those people. I do. As frustrated as I can get sometimes and as heated as I can be, I do have compassion for someone that walks around with that much fear in their body. That's got to be really heavy and really difficult to deal with. That's a survival response, right? But there's almost this sort of, my friend Steph said it beautifully, there's this commitment to the misery. We're committed to these identities, to these beliefs, to these stories, to this programming that isn't actually serving us, but we want to be right so much that we cannot hear past our own shit. No matter how much fact or evidence or information is given to us, we're still nope, la 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 la, I don't want to hear it. We are committed to the misery. And we all are guilty of this, right? We all, humans, the general philosophy is we want to survive. And our ego wants to be right. So we will stick to something so fucking hard that I can't even hear you because I do not want to be wrong. And I will abandon everything that is truth, that is liberation, that could actually be, better on the other side, that could bring me peace. I will abandon all of that to stick to my guns. And that's what I'm watching happen in these certain people that are anti and that are kind of putting themselves in here. I call them the never Trumpers. Again, I don't care. You don't have to love the man. You don't have to. I don't care where you stand politically. But there's those that are voting for Biden. There's those that are voting for Trump, and then there's the people in the middle that are never Trumpers, and they're no matter what he does that's good, he could cure motherfucking cancer, and I still will not vote for him. And I'm okay, so that's fine, to each their own. You have every right to do so. But it's la 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 la, I cannot hear or see anything possibly remotely a little bit good because I am committed to being right, which is served by our ego. And that comes from ourselves, our wanting to be right, wanting to survive, that we're missing the point. We're missing what's possible. And again, this goes on both sides. There's times where I have to call myself on my own bullshit, where I'm I can't even see the other side right now because I'm so gritted into here. And I need to liberate myself from that and be willing to hold space for opposing views and possibly change my mind and possibly be oh shit, you're right. And what a gift that really is. Is this making sense? So why are we pissed that, and this is speaking to, specifically to this conversation came up around spiritual coaches, okay? Because that's the industry that I'm in, right? But this goes to all humans. Why are we pissed that our president, whether Democrat, Republican, anything in between, right? We loved and worshiped Obama because he never let us feel the fear. He was the most corrupt president. I voted for him. I did. And he was charismatic. He was charming. He was well eloquent. Like his words were like, he's a family man, like all this stuff. There was like these things that we loved about him, but he never let us see him sweat. But we're pissed, and we watched it happen in the VP debate. Harris threw it in there, right? We're pissed that the president's not being truthful. If there was always like the president and the leader coming out and saying like, you need to be afraid, and all of this, like, you guys, we would never be able to move forward in our lives because we're constantly in conflict in some aspect, whether it's health things or it's going on in the world or we've got war or whatever it might be. Like, there's conflict. That's part of the human experience. It's the polarity. So the fact that he comes out and says we don't need to be afraid, why are we upset about that? Please, again, make it make sense. So you would rather live in fear, right? You would rather live in fear because that's what, again, the media, the mainstream media, which tends to be pretty radical left. Most of it is bought. There are also those bought by the right. So again, goes both ways. But the mainstream media and message coming out that we should be locked in our homes, covering our faces, terrified for our lives because people have died. I'm going to be honest. Again, we can have empathy and compassion, but people die every day. People die of cancer. People die of health issues. People die everywhere, every single day. People die of the flu in bigger numbers than COVID every single year. But this is the first time in 2020, again, because what we're watching happen is this great reckoning in our world right now and in our planet, where what was built in fear is crumbling because it can't survive anymore. And so what we're watching is kind of this peak happen in 2020, and this is the information I get. Check in with your own guides and your own information, of course. Suck out the juice, spit out the pits, take what resonates, leave the rest. But there's this sense of like what was built in fear has to crumble. So 2020, we're coming to this peak, but we're gritting, we're holding on for dear life. The media loves us to be in fear because we are controllable. When we are divided, they can control us. And the second that seed is planted in our mind where the media says we need to do this, and we do it, and we forego our own agency, our own sovereignty, our own wisdom, this is where they have us hooked. This is us being controlled by these darker forces at play. And it keeps us out of liberation and peace and unity and compassion and love and clarity, keeping us from our divine purpose. Is this making sense, right? So when we look at, for example, the media saying we need to live in fear, even when the factual evidence and backing has the exact opposite, right? It's like showing us, no, you actually don't have to live in fear. Again, yes, people have died, and that is devastating. And we've learned so much about this virus that we have treatments. And there is space in the hospitals. All of this started because we needed to slow the spread so that there was room and space and supplies in the hospitals. I'm here to tell you, we've done that. It's been over 200 days. Do we not see that we're being sold a narrative to keep us controllable, to keep us separate, to keep us out of our power and out of our intuition, out of moving forward? Do we see how something as devastating as people losing their lives has now become political? You either vote left and it's because you care about people, or you vote right because you don't give a fuck about people. Okay, that is so black and white. There is so much nuance here that we have to look at. But what's happening is we're making this political by saying, oh my God, the president said don't be dominated by fear. And now as a spiritual leader, as a coach, as someone who's like, wait a second, Personal Development 101, we know that fear is dangerous. We know that fear keeps us in survival and we can't actually heal or lead or liberate ourselves from that space. Why are we making this political? Again, whether Trump said it or Biden said it or Obama said it or whoever the fuck said it, why? None of it is making sense. You would rather live your life in fear because you're so gung-ho on being right. That you would just say, I don't give a fuck about the evidence. I don't give a fuck about the fact. I'm going to assume and perceive it this way to feed my own confirmation bias and keep me locked in my home. Now, as coaches and as leaders who run our own businesses online, we are so fucking privileged that we get to make money from home. How about all the small businesses, and I have chills over my entire body right now, that have had to shut down because of this? How about the fact that mental health and the rate of suicide has fucking skyrocketed? What about the people that are getting beat in their own homes because they're not allowed to leave and they struggle in a domestic abuse situation? Are we that blind and naive? Yes, you might be able to homeschool your kids. Hell yes for you. What a gift. What about the parents that can't homeschool their kids? What about the parents of special needs children who their kids are struggling because they have to watch a school online? Do we not see the bigger picture at play here? We have to wake up. This is becoming political. This is becoming keep you in fear, I can control you, versus, oh my God, the leader of our country. And again, if you're not even from America, if America goes down, we're all fucking going down. It's a domino effect, okay? My friends in Canada, my friends in Australia, I have friends in Europe, we're like, they're literally like, everyone's watching us so intently. And if we continue to just go so blindly because we're so blinded by our hate and our rage and our anger, what's going to end up happening is that we are going to collapse. And what's happening again is the fear, we're in fear, right? Everything's coming to a peak because it's crumbling. But if you keep feeding the fear narrative, you're not actually doing your job as a spiritual leader, as a coach, at all. In fact, you're feeding exactly what these darker forces at play, because this is spiritual warfare, what they want, right? So fear, we know this. Scientifically speaking, fear lowers our immune system. So when the president says, you don't have to live in fear, be smart, right? Wash your hands, or, whatever it might be, like take care of your health, go outside, go for a run, eat your greens, all these different things. This is a gift because fear lowers our immune system, is actually keeping us sicker, right? Fear keeps us divided. Fear keeps us out of our power. So why? For a virus that has a 99% survival rate, again, it does not negate the fact that it is devastating, those lives that we have lost, but we know so much now. And what a gift that is. Their lives were not lost in vain. Why? Why are we continuing to believe the story that we need to live in perpetual fear? I'm like, the energy's moving so much, I'm like sweating, like my glasses are like sliding off of my face right now. This is crazy. I've told this, I've explained it in this metaphor before. And the reason I say fear kills our life force, because we have energy flowing through our bodies, right? Called life force energy, Shakti, orgasmic, Kundalini, prana, chi, whatever the hell you want to call it. There's a million terms for it. But it's this energy that is our aliveness. It's our vitality. It is what makes our heart beat, right? It's what draws what we want towards us. It's what connects us all. It's this beautiful, beautiful life force energy. And it flows through our bodies and through our channels. And whether you want to go spiritual about it, and you go into like the chakra system and all of this, or you just want to think of it like a channel in our bodies, we've got it kind of running all the way through. But when we're in fear, it's as if our dam gets, our river, our stream gets blocked, right? It's like it cuts off. So if I'm in fear, I cut off my life force. This energy no longer is free flowing. It actually gets stuck. And from that space, I'm not operating at my fullest capacity. I'm not able to hear myself as clearly. I go into what's called survival. I go into my sympathetic nervous system. I go into fight, flight, freeze, or appease. Right? I start shallow breathing. I go into possible anxiety. I get constrictive. My body shuts down. And I'm not able to access the fullness of my power or my wisdom from that space. So when these leaders keep us in, and I say leaders in terms of like mainstream media, certain aspects of the left and the right. Politically, I think of certain spiritual coaches that are preaching this narrative that, the president is insensitive and dangerous by telling us to not let this dominate our lives, XYZ. It keeps us controllable. It keeps us out of our power. When we remove and move through and alchemize the fear with safety, and we can actually drop down into our lower belly where we go into parasympathetic nervous system, we go into the response of being able to rest, restore, digest, because we're not running from a lion, and we're actually able to relax and be at peace. From that space, we're able to hear, see, think, feel, and know more clearly. We're able to be in our power. We're able to magnetize and manifest quicker. We're able to create from more of a space of ease and overflow. We're able to hear our own truth. We're able to discern better because our energy is free flowing. And so what's so interesting is that I want us to check in with, when I'm living in this constant fear and I'm believing this narrative that's being sold to me, is that getting me closer to what I want? Is that actually serving me, or is it keeping me further away from what I want and keeping me divided? Something to feel into. Again, this is personal development 101. It's something that we preach every single day. Every single day. But we're wanting and begging because we want to be right so bad, because we're so anti-Trump. And again, apply this to any area of your life that you're in fear, because we're so anti that we're wanting and begging someone to confirm that we should be completely afraid for our lives. We are going down with the mother effing ship. And it breaks my heart as a fellow coach and as a fellow spiritual leader, as someone who's been in this industry for many, many years and will continue to be, that I'm watching my brothers and my sisters in this community feeding this narrative, when at the same time we're selling a program about how we need to fuck the fear and do it anyway, and move the fear out, and how the fear is not serving us. Do we see how we're being given an opportunity to embody that politically and in what's going on in our country right now, in this time of division and chaos? We're being asked to embody. Wow, what a gift that the facts, and the fact that the president, who is 74, and the one that we're all nervous about, right? Because we're nervous for our grandmas and our grandpas that they're going to die from this, because that's who this virus is affecting most. We're so disconnected that where we want to believe oh, well, I wish he would have died because then it would have confirmed that we were right. Instead of saying, what a gift that, while yes, again, people have died, we get to move forward. And that a true leader paints the picture of hope and faith, and not at the expense of lying, but no one's lying. The facts are backing this. It has a 99% survival rate. The facts are backing this. This is not opinion or trauma or emotions. This is evidence. And I hope that this is coming through clearly. So a question that was asked in a podcast I was listening to recently that I think was so freaking good was, where are you attached to certain aspects of yourself or this story, this narrative, this programming that you are trying to prove right that's actually not serving you, but you are, again, you're white knuckling it. I'm going down with the ship because I hate this man so much. I'm blinded. I refuse to see the hope, the faith, the good here, because I would rather be right. Something to feel into. Really and truly, I just don't understand how we want a leader to not paint the picture of possibility and hope. And to me, when I think of who I want leading us, that's what I see. Someone that's going to say, we don't have to let this dominate us, you guys. We are making headway. We've got this. And rallying us together versus this idea that we need to be divided and separate and you're either with us or you're against us and whatever. At the end of the day, we all come together as a country and we should all be unified no matter who we're voting for. And whether Trump wins in November or Harris wins, because let's be real, it's not going to be Biden, it's going to be Harris. Like, let's just fucking call a spade a spade. Can we come together and look at the truth and the fact versus getting caught up in our own emotions and our own trauma responses and the fear which keeps us disembodied, disconnected, and divided. So, again, can we practice the both and here? Have empathy and grieve the losses and also hold on to hope that they didn't die in vain, that we're beating this thing and we get to live again. I'm sorry, but when I pass on, whenever that time may be, and I hope that it's not soon, but I trust the bigger picture at play, I would want to look back on and be like, thank you. Like, if I had to die, at least these motherfuckers are living again, right? Like, we figured it out. Because of my death, we celebrate the possibility of life. We don't just get stuck and like glopped in the grief. We honor it, we validate it, we recognize it, we hold ourselves in it, we continue to move it through as it comes and reveals itself in layers, and we liberate ourselves. Isn't that such a gift, right? And so I was talking with one of my girlfriends, and she shared something her friend had said that I want to share here with you guys because it was so profound. She said, death is sad. It is. There's nothing around that. However it comes, right? Death is sad however it comes. But if someone beats cancer, are they not allowed to celebrate their battle with the disease success? Is it ever viewed as disrespectful to those who have lost loved ones due to cancer? Or if someone has a successful labor and delivery, should they not celebrate even though some mothers and babies have died during labor? Is COVID the exception simply because it's the president of the United States? Because we're blinded by our hatred and our rage towards someone for reasons that you're completely entitled to. You are entitled to your opinions, right? Whatever you want to feel, by all means feel it. But do we not see the double standard? And as spiritual leaders and coaches, do you not see the damage that you are doing? And how out of integrity you are by spreading this message? Assuming that there's not empathy and compassion because you're not choosing to listen to those press conferences or choosing to listen to when he talks about that. You're instead taking a tweet that is limited to 140 characters or something bullshit like that and saying, oh my God, he's so insensitive and dangerous because he's saying we don't have to let this dominate our lives. We don't have to live in fear. Am I not allowed to be happy about being pregnant because I know some people are dying to be pregnant? Am I not allowed to talk about my success, my successful pregnancy? Can't I hold space for the both and? Those that are grieving, those that are disappointed and sad and hurt, and my own joy and my own happiness and hope for what's possible? Something to look at, right? So we're making people's pain by spreading this message political. And it's super devastating, to be totally honest. My friend said it beautifully too. She said, we've put out the fire, right? Which is what Trump was saying. We've put out the fire, but let's still be scared of getting burned. Like, do we see how asinine this is when we actually look at it and we peel back the layers, we remove our hatred, we remove our rage, we remove our bias, and we just look at it head on. Head on. At some point, you guys, we have to move forward. We cannot lock ourselves in our homes forever and live in fear. It's, again, creating that block in our stream of life force energy. It's actually keeping you farther away from what it is that you desire. And it's not about being naive and it's not about being stupid. You can still have deep concern for what's going on and for the higher risk individuals. You can still have like, okay, I want to be very mindful. Like when I go to the store, I don't wear a mask personally. But I will keep my distance. I will honor, and especially if someone has a mask on, I will stand back, and I'm making sure, like, if I have to cough, I cough in my arm, like I'm washing my hands, I'm taking care of myself, I'm taking care of my health, I'm being very mindful. If I don't feel well, I won't go out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm aware of and tuned into the collective. I'm not being selfish, but I'm not living in fear, because all that's doing then is what's not healed within me and what I'm living in, that energy and that frequency, is then getting projected into the collective, which is creating, I mean, it's beautifully said. The podcast I was listening to the other day with Peter Crone, which you guys saw in my stories today. I'm freaking obsessed with his philosophy, and I just can't get enough of him. But he was talking about, like, oppression, hatred, judgment, division, fear. All these things start within us. It's not, oh, it's the system, and it's the president, and it's this person, and it's whatever. That's blame. That's being a victim. There are those certain aspects that we need to be very mindful of, right? And there are definitely things that we can look at. It's not about one or the other, but it starts with you. If I'm choosing to walk around in constant fear and judgment towards myself, and hatred and abuse towards myself, that is then the energy that I am putting into the collective, and it's just adding fuel to the fire. I have to take personal responsibility and personal accountability to move through my own fear, my own trauma, my own hatred, my own self-abuse, my own shit, so that then the energy that I am putting into the collective is that of self-acceptance and love, compassion, peace, unity, and then that's what I'm rippling in. What a different energy. What a different energy that would be. So, living in perpetual fear is not going to help anyone. It's keeping you out of the present. It's keeping you out of the present. It's keeping you out of your power. It's keeping you out of your joy. It's keeping you out of your ability to birth this new paradigm. 100%. And we're just continuing to spread more fear, which is exactly what we're trying to dismantle right now. If we think of the old earth, right, we think of this kind of age that we've been in, and everything that was built on fear has to crumble because it does not exist here anymore. It's being stripped away. What a gift. But you, as a spiritual leader, as a coach, as a woman, as a motherfucking human who is here today with me, listening to this, you spreading this bullshit, your assumptions, your perception, oh, he meant this. Oh my God, he said that we shouldn't be dominated by fear, and now I'm pissed for some reason because of God, I'm begging someone to just confirm that we need to live in fear, because then I feel better about myself, and my ego is like, who were right? Like, let go of the need to be right, because it's keeping you stuck, it's keeping you separated, and it's keeping you from what you want. And instead, can we go in and say, okay, this new paradigm that we're creating, how am I embodying that? How am I, encapsulated in that frequency now? Again, not to spiritually bypass, do your work. This is deep integration, deep work, 100%. Cannot bypass it. But when I have a moment of fear, can I honor that? Can I validate that? Can I hold myself in that? Can I create safety in my body to alchemize that fear? And from there, can I embody more compassion and unity and peace and grace and more of what we're trying to bring in with this new earth? Can I take responsibility that the energetic signature, the breath that I breathe every inhale and exhale, that is my contribution, that is my impact, that is my mother effing responsibility. We have to heal our own shit to create safety in ourselves, and that is then what we're putting out. So again, whether you agree with the man or not, whether it's Trump or Obama or Biden or FDR or whoever, I don't care, political sides aside, it kills me to watch this go around. This bullshit and this complete and utter nonsense that we preach against every single day in our community. that we are trying to dismantle every single day, but somehow in an election season, we throw our teachings out the window. And you guys, I'm not perfect. I'm continuing to move through new layers of this every day. I too have an ego that loves to be right. I too love a confirmation bias. Like, we all have our own shit, 100%. None of us are immune to this, but can we stop spreading this idea that the president saying that we should not live in fear and that we will not let this dominate our lives, and that we have, created so much headway against this virus, that we are like a leading country in the world who is doing so much to take this shit down, because we need to get back to life, fully living, not to disgrace or not to invalidate the lives that have been lost, actually to honor them. Thank you for your sacrifice so that I can live. It's the same shit. When you're practicing your freedom and you think of all of the veterans that have lost their lives, men and women and everything in between, right? You're doing the same thing. We cannot stay locked in our homes forever. That doesn't make any sense. None. So, something to sit with, something to feel into. Where is fear and my confirmation bias, my desperate need to be right? My hatred and rage towards a certain political candidate, my own shit. Where is it keeping me blocked and separate from the fullness of my life force energy? Where do I need to take radical responsibility for what I'm putting into the collective and say, holy shit, whoa, unhook, come back into my body. Where is this being mirrored within me? So that when, again, Trump or Harris or whoever it ends up being in November, when they say, you guys, as your leader, I'm telling you, we don't have to live in fear. We will not let this dominate us. Like, I have chills in my whole body. I will be a fucking bulldog and I will fight for your freedom. We can celebrate that, regardless if we voted for them or not. Now, I will say, one party tends to be a little bit more that than the other this election, this go around. But regardless, you have every right to vote for whoever you're going to vote for. But it's really feeling into, what kind of leader do we want? And I sure as hell know, from everything I know about fear that I've been studying for years, and you have as well, right, that someone who leads with fear is not who I want leading me in this. I want someone who can hold the hope and the vision for the days that I can't. I can say, we've got this. And we can hold that both and. That's what I have for you. So I hope that resonated. I hope that made sense. I'm sweaty, which always means that energy was definitely moving, and I felt it here with you guys, and thank you so much for being here. I want to see if there's any comments here. You're on point. When I first started following it, it was very triggering for me. Instead of unfollowing, it has helped me grow by going inside and figuring out why. Beautiful. I have to do the same thing. I don't follow everyone that agrees with me on everything, and I have to fully, sometimes I've got to swallow my damn ego and be like, ugh, that's a hard pill to swallow, but I can see it. That makes sense. And again, even politically, I have views and values on both sides. And I can see, I have a gift of being able to see the both and everything, that it's really hard to vote sometimes because I'm like, oh, I can see though. I see that and I see that. And this is where, to me, I have to go in of fact and values and my intuition and the energy behind it and, false promises versus shit that's actually followed through on, different things of that nature. But I'm with you. It can be so deeply triggering to be like, oh, fuck, I think I was wrong. But this is truth. Truth is ever expanding. Can we give ourselves permission and grace? Like what I said even a year ago, there's something very triggering for me that I wrote about a year ago, 2 years ago now. I think it was 2 years ago now, that popped up on my time hop recently. And I was like, fuck, I'm not that person anymore. And I actually have a completely differing viewpoint. when I grew up really conservative, but then I like broke free and rebelled against my parents, and I went like super hardcore liberal. And then I like woke up and kind of did the whole walk away thing, and definitely am more independent. Again, I have views on both sides, but this election specifically and last election, I definitely lean more conservative with the candidates. But I get it. It's like, it's so deeply triggering to be like, oh shit, like gut wrench, like what I said or what I posted or what I preached, like doesn't align anymore. But again, you're human. You're allowed to evolve. You're ever evolving. Can we give ourselves more grace, right? People pick and choose what they want to hear. Absolutely. Yeah, we are social beings. We are not meant to live in a bubble. 100%. I mean, that's killing us too. You know, we're meant to be in community, to touch. Like, we're nourished as human beings by being together. And the internet is such a beautiful gift of us getting to be together. Like, I'm so deeply grateful for getting to be here with you guys and connecting with you every day. But there's nothing that beats human touch. There just isn't. And that is shown to actually help our immune system. So again, this is where I just believe that this is darker forces at play. We're in spiritual warfare that wants to keep us away from each other because we're powerful together. There's strength in numbers. And that's where we're able to love on each other and heal each other and come together and fight back, you know? Yeah, he went to one of the best doctors. Totally. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my God, so good. Hello, Kayla. Thank you. I love you too. Yeah, I love you guys. This is, that's all I'm going to leave you with for now on this topic, because I'm going to get cut off here in a minute because we're getting close to the hour. But just be really, really mindful of leaders, myself included, who post things. Be mindful to not let your love for them blind your own intuition. Look into facts, like even on, you know, I wish there was a fact checker at the debates on both sides. You know, who's independent, who is neutral. I don't know if that's possible, but I would love to see like things getting called out, because a lot of like what Harris said is completely false. There were things that Trump had even said in the last one, Biden had said, that are false. Like, we need to be very mindful of fact and not be clouded by our emotions and our own trauma. We need to be very mindful of double standards, like this whole women's empowerment, I'm speaking, but then when the VP stands up for himself, like he's being aggressive just because he's a man and he has a penis. Like, do we see like the double standard? These are the things where, as coaches, as spiritual leaders, as, you know, human to human, I just think we're better than this. Again, on both fucking sides, left and right. And anywhere in between, we're better than this. But are we embodying what we teach, or are we so blinded by the political charge right now that we're sticking to our guns and going down with the ship? Or are we willing to see things differently? Are we willing to expand our consciousness? Are we able to mature in our spirituality and say, wow, like this is really difficult for my ego right now. This is really difficult. But part of my commitment to being a leader, to being a coach, to being a spiritual teacher is that I have to embody what I practice, what I preach, what I teach, to be in integrity. Whew. That's a big one. And so I'm going to keep speaking out on it. And I don't do it to be call out culture. I had, you know, a couple people message me of like, oh, who are you talking about? And I'm like, doesn't matter who I'm talking about. It's happening. And you're either seeing it or you're not, and that's totally fine. But I don't need to cancel people because of this. I just, again, I think that they're blinded. And I've been there. I am not perfect by any means. But I hope that people that I trust, you know, continue to call me in and call me higher and say, hey, like, you're not practicing what you preach here. And then I can tune into it from there and see like, oh my God, you're right. Because I get very heated about politics. I love politics. I think it's so fascinating. No matter when or where or whatever. Like, I find it so fascinating. But we just have to make sure that that's not blinding us to being able to see the full spectrum. You are allowed and entitled to your own opinions. You are entitled to have your own beliefs and whatever. You're not entitled to your own facts. Facts are facts, like point blank. And on both sides. But at the same time, like, we also have to embody and preach and practice empathy and grace and compassion and the amount of assumptions and all of this that's happening right now. It breaks my heart. I guess is the best way to explain it, because we're better than this. Like, oh, we've been preaching that fear is killing us forever, but now we want to have a leader that, please tell us to live in fear because then I can be right. You know, like, it's just bleh, such bullshit. So anyway, I really am going to leave you this time. But thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this with anyone that you think could benefit from this. It's going to go on the podcast as long as the audio quality comes through okay. So look for it sometime this weekend. That will get up over there. And if you guys have something you want me to specifically cover, please send it over. I love to go live and riff on things that will serve you and support you in combination with what I'm obviously feeling intuitively led to bring through. But yeah, thank you. Thanks for being connected with me here, and thanks for allowing me to riff for the last almost hour. I was like, this one's going to be short. This one will be like 15, 20 minutes, and then here we are like almost an hour later. Oh, I'm funny that I always think that that's going to happen. But yeah, sending love to you guys. Stay safe, stay well, stay educated, stay connected. We've got like 25, 24 days or something like that till the election. Breathe. Tune in, right? Parasympathetic nervous system, rest and restore, and make our decision from there versus that shallow survival trauma response, okay? I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.